There has never been a more important time to move in a vegan direction. Whether you're ready to start, restart, or re-energize your vegan or plant-based practice, this podcast is for you. I'm Michelle Olander, life coach, vegan, ADHD matriarch, travel lover, and smoothie loather. And I know that it's the details that get in the way of your vegan journey. But I like to believe that the obstacle is always the way. So every week we meet here where I translate the tools of life coaching and Stoic philosophy. I bring you actionable tips, some laughs, interesting guests, and vegan ideas for everyone at any age. All to help you veg your best. Episode 240. Struggling to go vegan? A 30-day Veginner challenge with Cheryl Martinez. Hey kids, it's Michelle. I'm recording this in my very last hours for this season in Florida. And when I finish this introduction, I'm going to be packing away my microphone, the Audio-Technica ATR 2100. If you're curious, this little guy has gotten me through a lot of episodes. I've used the Blue Yeti. I've used some others. Maybe we'll do a podcast on that at some point. But this is the Audio-Technica ATR 2100. And I'll be putting it in its little foam case in a few minutes. But all that to say, the space is probably, where I'm recording, it's a lot more echoey than usual for this introduction because the plastic box that I usually use, it's a plastic box with egg crate foam stapled into it. And my husband made that for me, and it's all packed away. And I'm heading back to New England for a few days before our trip to France. And don't worry, you won't miss anything. You'll be hearing loads more about that trip here on the pod and on Instagram, because I think we're definitely going to Paris, and I think we're going to Strasbourg, where I have never been. So all that is ahead of us for the spring on Vedge Your Best. So today, though, we have an interview, and our guest... I think this guest is the perfect voice if you have ever struggled with your plant-based or vegan plans, or if you or someone you love have started and stopped and started. My guest today is Cheryl Martinez, founder of Veginner Cooking. That's like beginner with a V at the beginning. And Cheryl has created such a supportive, such a resource-rich online space for anyone who's even vegan curious or vegan-ish or starting over this spring. Cheryl has shared here her very, I think, super relatable journey growing up in a meat-loving Latino family, wrestling with cravings for cheese, and discovering how a 30-day vegan challenge changed everything for her. We're going to talk about what makes going vegan feel hard, why it doesn't have to be, and Cheryl will give us some actionable tips, her mindset shifts, and a behind-the-scenes look at the free 30-day challenge she's created to help so many people take that leap with compassion, not perfection. So, if you're looking where to begin or begin again, this one's packed with ideas, and I'm going to see you on the other side. Cheryl Martinez from VeginnerCooking.com. Welcome to Vedge Your Best.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm delighted you're here. I'm delighted you reached out to me so I could get to know you through your website, through Instagram, through a lot of the things you're doing. And honestly, you are, they talk about triple threats and model / actress / spokesperson / but you are a lot of things. You're a performer. You are a marketer, you are a animal rescuer, you are a cooking teacher. Just tell us all about it.
Yeah, you know what, Michelle? Yes, I've done a lot in my life, but the thing that I am most proud of is going vegan. I'd say that's the accomplishment that I thought was the hardest at the time, but ended up being one of the easiest things I've done. And it's something that I am just incredibly proud of, more proud than everything else I've done on that list.
That's funny you say that because I often feel similarly that
Mhm.
it's the skill that kind of, and I became vegan much later in my 50s, but it's the skill that has underwritten possibility for me in a million other parts of my life.
Mhm. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I felt like once I went vegan, I felt like I could do anything. I was like, if I could accomplish this, what else can I accomplish? And
Hmm.
yes, of course, it takes discipline, but once you get past those initial hurdles, I promise it gets so much easier. And I'm sure, you can relate.
Yeah, I completely relate. So let's find out what was your foray first? Like, did you grow up eating animal products and having a standard US diet?
Yeah, I grew up in a Latino family that loves to eat meat. So, I never even really knew about this until, later in my life. But I always had an inkling inside where I kind of, my love for animals was so enormous that something just didn't add up and something just didn't feel right. And I knew that I wanted to make a change. So once I started meeting other people who were either vegetarian or vegan, I asked questions. I was curious. I read books. I watched documentaries, and I was like, you know what? Maybe this could be me. I just felt like in my heart something was leading me this way. And I always wanted to save animals. I always cared so deeply, almost too deeply for animals that it's like debilitating in my mind when I think about the cruelty. But at one point, I was like, oh, maybe I'll start an animal sanctuary. But I'm not emotionally strong enough to start an animal sanctuary. So that's why I started Veginner Cooking instead. That's my way to save animals and give back.
Well, you certainly did that. It's interesting you say that about you don't have I lost my first I always say my first child was a border collie. I was a dog and
Aw.
when we lost him, I was like I couldn't do so I can't even have another pet.
Oh.
And I was not vegan during that but I often
Mhm.
think that Louis helped me go vegan later on. That our
Oh, I
darling
love
dog.
that.
Yeah, but dogs, pets, these sometimes they are a gateway for us to learn compassion, and sometimes it's just really sealed off. So what's interesting to me is how you something had you keep learning, asking, thinking, because you were almost like trying on the concept bit by
Yes.
bit. And one of the
Yeah.
things I noticed on beginnercooking.com on your website is you have so many resources. It sounds like that's kind of your love language is learning or
Yeah.
teaching.
There's so much to learn, and learning can be really fun. And when I went vegan, I didn't have the tools and resources that Veganer Cooking provides. And that was my inspiration. I was like, what would have helped make my journey easier? Why did I struggle so much going vegetarian and then taking 8 more years to go from vegetarian to vegan? And it was because I didn't have the resources, the tools, the community, the support that Veganer Cooking offers. So when I went vegan, I was like, let me document my journey. Let me help others along the way. And let me kind of keep track of what were my hurdles, the biggest hurdles, and how did I overcome them. And just put it all there in this all-in-one tool, and build a community of like-minded individuals who are either vegan curious or just the veganer stands for vegan beginner, so vegan beginners, and or people who tried and failed, and but still know in their heart they are ready for this, they need this is who they want to be. So I know, if you're a huge animal lover, which a lot of people are, I'm sure it's crossed their mind, but people just think it's too hard. And oftentimes it is if you don't have the resources and the support.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it's a process. It is not usually one and done, though I do run into people who overnight just completely change. But even then, there are other aspects of the way they're functioning as a vegan that are
Mhm.
new, and are some skills that need to be developed. That is, and I sometimes people will push back and say, well, how can you be just a little bit or half, or learning? But I think it's such an important issue that it's
Mhm.
worth being bad at it for a while or coming back to it. And so tell me, what were some? You said there were some struggles there, where there were some hard parts. Oh no, I think you said hurdles. There were some hurdles.
Yes.
What were
Yes.
some of the hurdles for you in your life?
Ooh, boy, did I love cheese, ice cream. Oh my goodness. The thoughts of giving up dairy seemed impossible to me. And you know what? It isn't impossible. If I'm here to tell you that if I can do it, you can do it. And what happened was, after being vegetarian for 8 years, my vegan friend was like, watch this documentary with me, and why don't you just try it for 30 days? Like no, no commitment. 30 days is easy. Just see how you feel. And I was like, oh, you know what? I really want this. And 30 days seemed doable. It didn't seem as scary, right? So, in preparation for those 30 days, and you can laugh at me if you want, I decided to eat like all my favorite things one last time. I like had all these like, cheese empanadas and pizza and ice cream, and I loaded up on all this stuff that I don't even normally eat that frequently or all at once. But because I had a lot of dairy at once, I noticed like some immediate reactions in my body that probably aren't as pronounced when you're spacing it out. But it was so obvious to me that the dairy was making me really bloated, really uncomfortable, and acne. So much acne came out. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize that the dairy was contributing to acne. Like, this is crazy. And then as soon as I started the vegan challenge, like all these things went away. I felt so much better. And I was like, okay, this is my body's way of telling me that like dairy is not good for you and your body. You're reacting to it in a way where your body's telling you something. And that made it easier for me to do those 30 days. I'm not recommending that people do it like that, obviously, but it was a big aha moment for me because I felt so amazing at the end of my 30 days and so very proud that it inspired me to want to keep going. It inspired me to say, you know what, Cheryl, you can keep this up. You've been vegetarian for 8 years. You've always wanted to make the plunge to fully vegan. Why not now? Like you've got this. Let's build on that momentum and see how far you can go. And at that time, I was compassionate with myself. I said, you know what? If you need a cheat day for that pizza shop that you walk by every day in the city, if you need a cheat day, I'm not going to be mad at you if you choose to have a cheat day. I told myself that. Of course, I never ended up needing a cheat day because there's so many amazing vegan pizza options and vegan cheese that exist now. But giving myself that compassion and giving myself, without being so strict, I think just gave me the courage, I guess, to just really continue on and give it a try and just again, just be kind to yourself.
I agree that being kind to yourself, there is some idea of right and wrong or morality for many of us. There is
Mhm.
some, and it's not to be dismissed. But I think in terms of learning behavior change, it is a
Mhm.
good thing to put aside for a while
Mhm.
because it's too much when you're trying to learn a new skill. It's a little bit too much, and it's not because you're a bad person that you do these
Mhm.
things or do things automatically or instinctively. It's not because and plenty of vegans are not the best people either. So it can
Mhm.
work. It can work either way. So it's something to put aside. But I love what you say about it. The compassion belongs to you too. It's a choice. It is a decision of compassion that you deserve as well as what the reasons that some of us are moving in this direction. And also
Yeah.
about dairy, I think letting dairy go is the thing that I notice most people actually do feel a lot better
Yeah.
afterwards. Some of the other things are, a little more subtle, maybe. I don't know. That's just my anecdotal experience. But letting go of dairy can sometimes make people feel so much better.
Yeah. It also depends on what kind of plant-based diet you're choosing. Are you choosing a highly processed plant-based diet or a whole foods plant-based diet? So, and what kind of diet were you coming from? Were you a fairly healthy carnivore before you went pescatarian or vegetarian or vegan? And then, so how drastic of a change are you making? And is that change gradual or is it a big jump? So
Mm.
I think that all will help, you know, will help alter, will slightly alter the things that you feel, such as, better sleep, more energy, less bloating, less gut issues, clearer skin. All of those things are true things that you will notice, but how strongly you will notice it can vary. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really important to understand that we all come at this in a different way. We all have different things that seem normal to us in our daily choices about food. And we've gotten used to that. And we shouldn't necessarily change everything all at once,
Mhm.
especially when
Yeah.
we're trying to make decisions about limiting animal products or eliminating them. So, yeah, because if you just go straight raw food, it could just be too much. It can be. Some people, again, it can work, but it might be asking an awful lot of you, especially if you're living in the world with everything else that's going on and trying to function as a family member and a worker
Mhm.
and a
Mhm.
taxpayer. So tell us a little bit about that. So cheese, dairy, that was a big hurdle for you.
Mhm.
And the 30 days, giving it a container to say, I don't know if I'll do it after 30 days. I don't have to continue with this. Did that make you feel more empowered and less?
It made it feel less scary,
Hmm.
less daunting, less, like it made me feel like I had options and it wasn't just, you're 100% vegan or you can't do it at all. You know what I mean? Like, so I encourage at Veginner Cooking a plant forward diet. I use that terminology a lot instead of plant-based or vegan because again, I try to look back into before I was like a hardcore vegan, who was I, and I want to make Veginner Cooking a very supportive, non-judgmental space so that we can capture those people who are curious or who are interested in maybe adding more plants to their lifestyle. And maybe even if they're not going fully vegan, I'm not going to say, okay, well, you're not allowed to do this at all then, because like we need more people on our team and we're not going to get to where we need to do, which is, changing the way things are, changing the animal agriculture industry, unless we change, the statistics and what people shop for. So if people are shopping for 90% plant-based items and 10% not, then we're still going to make positive change. So I am all for like positive change for the animals, for the environment, for our health, and whatever it takes to get there, we need to be realistic. So yeah, I tried to encourage a plant-forward lifestyle, and then most people end up going all the way anyway, because once they see all the benefits, and they, again, feel so proud and accomplished, they want to say, well, what else can I do? How far can I take this? And you will
Mm.
surprise yourself along the way. And I'm not going to lie, building habits are hard. Building habits are hard. You need to have discipline. But once you get past, I'd say, at least for me, and I'd love to know what it was for you, I'd say the first 6 months were rough. But after that, it got so much easier. So it's like it was difficult. And then the curve of when it got easier, it was like it was huge. So it feels hard for a while, and then all of a sudden it's very easy, in my opinion. But I'd love
Mm.
to know for you, Michelle, having started at 50, which I think is so cool, by the way, because I know a lot of people think that, that's like too late to start, which
For
it is
sure.
not. It is never too late. Today is always the best day. So I'd love to know kind of why 50 and what happened before that for you.
Well, I was actually about 56 when I committed, really committed.
Hmm.
when I was like, that's it. Before that, I've spoken about it a few times. I considered myself an excusitarian. I was,
Oh, I love that.
I made vegan choices for quite a
Hmm.
while, unless I had a good excuse, whatever that was. But I had practiced making more and more and more vegan choices. And so honestly, because for a long time I was like, well, I'm just going to, partially because I was trying to model for my daughter who wanted to be vegan. I wanted to try to show, anytime she was with me, to show her how you might go about asking, insisting, explaining, advocating, so you would get your own, you would get closer to what you were looking for from other people. Um, and so then once I started practicing that, I was like, oh, well, I actually, in a perfect world, I don't want an animal to die for a meal I'm not going to remember. So that was like the beginning, just like, why wouldn't I want that? And then with the practice, once you can start going, oh, I know I could do this. Once you believe, I think it's easy. But in the beginning, when you're still thinking, I don't know if I can do it, to me, it's the hard part. It's not the food. It's not even other people. Other people can be a challenge, but it's not even them. It's really your own belief that you're going to be fine. You're really going to be fine.
I love that your daughter was part of your inspiration. I find that for a lot of people, people don't even really consider it until they meet someone who is vegan or who's trying it out. And then all of a sudden a light bulb goes off in their head and it's like, oh, like is this something I could do? And then they just start thinking about it. And then hopefully they start doing some research, watching some documentaries, and learning more because so much is hidden from us. And I feel like the more we learn, the more we expose ourselves to what's really going on in the animal agriculture industry, it's almost impossible to support it. You really just have to just put your blinders on in order to continue supporting it. And as human beings, like it shocks me how we've gotten to this point where it's okay to basically be lied to and to have all this, hidden from us, and for people to just not want to learn, for people to choose not to learn. That really it really really shocks me at my core.
Yeah. No, and it makes me very humble to think that I had really just sealed off a lot of thought. I mean, I know that I didn't not know. How am I saying that? I will swear to you that I did know intellectually, but I didn't know in my heart. And like many of us, you're sealed off because you're doing 1,000 other things. You're committed to 1,000 other things, and you're like, yeah, I'm not going there right now. I think that is a normal human thing to do. But once you realize, oh, actually, maybe it wouldn't be as disruptive. Maybe it wouldn't change the whole world. Maybe I don't have to leave my home and move to an ashram. Maybe I can actually do it poorly, but do it here. Everything just starts to fall into place.
A lot of people just don't want to know and they choose not to know. They choose not to learn what's really going on so that they can continue eating what they're eating. And what
Mm.
they're not realizing, which was a big mindset shift for me, was I always thought that I had to give up all these things. I thought I had to give up ice cream and give up dairy and give up pizza and give up chicken parm and all these things that I loved, right? But once I did the mindset shift and I said, okay, I'm actually not giving up anything. I'm just switching to the kinder, healthier alternatives that already exist for these things that I know and love and used to eat. And actually, and I'll feel better when I eat the kinder, healthier alternative. And most of the time, it's more delicious. So, and you know what you're putting in your body. You're fueling your body. Food should be fuel. And with all of the horrible things that are being pumped into these animals, you are consuming that stress, those hormones, those antibiotics. You're consuming that. That's not fuel for your body. What Mother Nature gives us, that's the fuel for your body. And that's how you're going to feel your best and perform your best and live your best life and veg your best.
There you go. I'm going to pay you for that one. But it is so true. You're absolutely right. And it's like we people, people who know me very well, I have very, I'm going to try to think if I have any vegans in my friend group. I'm going to say no, but I have people who
Aw.
are moving in that direction, and I try to keep my mouth shut around them because I do see it. I do see me being more powerful when they just see how I make my decisions, when they see that it's possible. We're eating in the same place and I make it happen. I go shopping in the same places they do and I make it happen. I have family. I have we have traditional meals sometimes from the family and they've been veganized. And so people see that happen. And I think that's a fairly powerful way, but still people will sometimes say, "But Michelle, I mean, it's just I've seen the cows out in the yard in the farm. I've seen the sheep out on hills. They're beautiful. Is that really that's very natural?" And I I hate to burst their bubbles, but almost none of the meat they're eating is living a life like that.
Nope. Nope. But society somehow makes us think that it is, or we'll trick our brains to make us think that it is, or because we buy something that says organic or free range, we assume that must mean something magical, but it doesn't. And no, I love what you said, how you are inspiring your friends, but you're not pushing them. You're not shoving it in their face. You're not making them feel bad, but yet you're just kind of inspiring curiosity. So they're seeing your choices, and then that'll make them think differently about things. And the more they're around that, the more hopefully they will start asking questions. And I do encourage that, because once people do like really get on that vegan train and they're really, really passionate about it, sometimes you just kind of want to spread it everywhere and you want everyone to feel the way you feel and think the way you think. But having that compassion for other people's, everyone has their own journey to get here. Some people, it's going to take a lot longer than others. And we can't be pushy vegans. We can't, because if we do that, we're going to turn people off and we're not going to get as many people on our side of the fence. So we need to be strategic and we need to be kind and compassionate when sharing education. So educate others, inspire others, but don't push others, don't force others, because you will be much more successful if you do it the kind way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm nobody. No, I'm nobody's poster child for an early adopter. So, I mean, no, I have no business telling anybody anything.
Mhm.
It took me a long time. So, I mean, that's honestly the reason I do this work, because I'm someone who did not do it at 18 or 25, or well, I was not vegetarian forever. So, I want people to know you can really come to this at a much later life, in much later life, and it will really you'll be more proud of it than anything you can believe. And I would love
Yeah.
to hear, one of the things that I really loved about your website, veginnercooking.com, was that you have challenges, you have information, you have tips and tricks. What are some that from your analytics? I know that you're savvy about this stuff. So what are analytics telling you that people click on and are really enjoying on your website?
Yeah. So my veganer community loves my 30-day vegan challenge, which you can join for free either on web or in our mobile app. So you can actually track your progress on the go if you want. And so that's a huge one. And then we also have other challenges to support your vegan challenge, or after your vegan challenge. We have a meditation challenge, we have a yoga challenge. And then we have cooking classes where actually you can cook along live with me. I take suggestions from my veganer community on some things they want us to veganize in future cooking classes, and we veganize it together live. And that's been super fun and super supportive, and a great way for me to connect with my veganer community on a more personal level. So I've really enjoyed that. And then we have lots of resources on our resources page, such as Plant Pal, which is a vegan AI companion that I created that's available for free on ChatGPT, that you can talk to or send it pictures of what's in your kitchen or pantry. And it'll tell you what delicious vegan meals you can make with what you got, as well well as just having a friend to talk to and ask questions and become more knowledgeable. That's what I think AI is a great tool for learning. So if you want to learn about what's going on in the animal agriculture industry, but you can't watch those graphic documentaries, ask Plant Pal. I trained the AI to be very friendly, very compassionate, very supportive, and just kind of as if you were talking to a friend. So that's been really cool. And then other tools like where to find vegan food when you're traveling, you know, along with some of my favorite vegan documentaries for inspiration. There's so many tools and resources and fun goodies on veginnercooking.com, including our shop where I have a ton of free cheat sheets, like my top 10 egg substitutes for baking, or say no to cheese, my favorite dairy alternatives. And I also have my favorite milk alternatives and a few other amazing cheat sheets that are really helpful if you're starting out. And you can use the promo code VEDGE to pick any free cheat sheet of your choice at my shop at veginnercooking.com. And Veginner is spelled just like the word beginner, but with the letter V.
That's so nice and easy to remember, Veginner. So when you made those cheat sheets, which was the first one? Which one did you start with?
Moo-free milks. Moo-free
Okay.
milks. Yeah, I started with that one because I feel like that's a super easy one for everyone. There's so many amazing alternatives now.
And everybody does seem to have a preference
Mhm.
if they'll try them. Yeah, some people like
Yeah.
my husband. My husband still eats fish, but he likes a certain oat milk in his
Mm.
coffee, and that's the only one. I try not to even use it because I never want him to not have it when he in the morning when he's getting up. And the egg-free cooking, another great thing that a lot of
Mhm.
us find that a little bit daunting. So really valuable cheat sheet, I think.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I just pulled it up so I can tell you the exact names. I came up with some clever names for it. So it's No Dairy, No Problem, the Cheese Lover's Vegan Guide. I have a Be Kind, that's spelled BEE, which are the top 10 honey alternatives. I have Scoops Up, top 12 vegan ice cream picks. No eggs needed, your top 10 egg substitutes for baking, and then of course the moo-free milks with your top 10 dairy alternatives. And what I'll do is I'll categorize things. So for example, with the milks, I'll say, well, which milk is going to be best in your coffee, which is going to be best in your cereal, which is the best one for making, ice cream and things like that. And then of course I have recipes for homemade nut milks on my blog as well. And then for the no eggs needed, I'll say, okay, well, use aquafaba when you're trying to make this, or use applesauce when you're trying to make cookies, or you know what I mean. So I'll put the different alternatives and then what it's best for, and then also the brands that have done it best in each category, which is super helpful for the no dairy, no problem cheese cheat sheet. So, because some brands is really, really just hit it on the mark. And there are certain brands that have, for example, one brand may have mastered vegan cream cheese, while another brand might have mastered the mozzarella. So you kind of need to know where to go. So I did all the taste testing for you guys, veganers, and your Vedge Your besties. So this way, you don't have to go and waste your money and buy all these different things, and you actually just know what's the best in each category. So that's why I created the cheat sheets, and my veganers love them.
Yeah, that sounds very, very helpful because it does slow us down. It is a hurdle or a speed bump for people when they're starting, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to try all those things. It's been a success, the non dairy aisle, the milk
Hmm.
aisle of the
Hmm.
supermarket. That's a
Yeah.
success. That's
Yeah.
people have their choices have, but it's also intimidating if you haven't tried any of them.
There's so
This is
many options.
so many, so many.
But on the flip side, it's 2025. There's never been an easier time to choose plant-based because we have so many options. It's kind of like no more excuses because if there's anything that you thought you couldn't have, it's there for you, or we can make it together. So it's really, no more excuses.
I agree. And is there anything that you're still waiting for? Is there a product, maybe from a traditional product from your family or something you grew up with? You're like, go, they haven't dialed that one in yet.
Hmm. Gosh, you
No,
know what? I feel like I have either found or made everything I've needed,
that's awesome.
everything I've craved. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and there's still so much more to come. New products are being invented every day. So I'm actually really excited to see what's next in the plant-based food industry. I'm constantly attending, the plant-based food expos and getting to try and taste all the cool new things that might be coming to market. And we have a lot in store because the market is growing rapidly. And I'm really excited for what's next.
No, it is an exciting time to be a vegan or to even be dipping your toe in the concept of it. And so where
Yes.
if someone is going, okay, I've been listening to Michelle's podcast and she has not gotten me to really dive in yet, but this Cheryl, this Cheryl Martinez from Veginner, I'm intrigued. Where should they start?
Well, I'd say start at the 30-day vegan challenge because I have a lot of actionable tips for things that you can do each day. Like, for example, in the beginning of the 30-day vegan challenge, one of the things that you'll do, hopefully on day one, is remove all temptation from your kitchen.
Mm.
Donate it to your friends or family, and just kind of uh, adapt that out of sight, out of mind mentality. I think is really important. So remove everything from your kitchen that isn't plant-based. Then you want to stock your fridge and your pantry with delicious plant-based food items. And I can help you there and give you some tips for some popular things to, popular staples that you should be keeping in your fridge and pantry when you're first starting out. I also give you ideas for like if you're not really into cooking. I share some of my favorite plant-based meal delivery kits that make it a lot easier when you're first starting out. And I have promo codes for that as well in my challenge. And then, so that would be kind of like step one. Step two is, exploring the tools and resources and getting outside support, whether you're joining groups, talking with others in the beginner community, asking your friend or a family member to do the challenge with you, and just kind of just getting yourself ready for what's to come so that you can be as successful as possible. And then if you are interested in really diving into the cooking, make it easier for yourself and get some really cool cooking tools like a food processor, a high-speed blender, an air fryer. Those things are all really make cooking a lot more efficient and will help you, create those delicious home-cooked meals. And then, watch some documentaries, I'd say throughout that 30-day vegan challenge. And I have a list of some really great ones. I'd love to hear what some of your favorites are too, Michelle. But yeah, watch those documentaries. I'd say it like at least once a week during your challenge. So you have that constant motivation and inspiration along the way to just keep you on track. And then if you do get off track, just, don't be so hard on yourself. Just do better the next day. And my vegan challenge has these little, these check-in boxes where it asks, well, how did you do today? How did you feel today? Did you make a mistake? It's okay. Like start again tomorrow. So there's room for growth. There's room for error. And there's so much love and support and so much practical tools, tips, advice, resources, everything you would need to make your challenge successful and fun and delicious.
I wish I could start all over again. It sounds great. What you're saying is to make the next best choice. If you have a problem for good reasons or bad, or you just make an impulsive decision and it doesn't work, it's not a slippery slope at all. There's no
Mhm.
slippery slope. It's just the
Mhm.
next decision. I always say never waste a mistake, never ever waste a mistake, because it is such a good idea to know if there's something that you eat unconsciously that you crave, you might go, oh, I need to have something like that on hand for myself
Hmm.
that does fit my requirements, because
Hmm.
it's okay to have a craving for things. It's okay to have to want to eat a snack, or I never go anywhere without food, just because I never want to be in a situation where, not just where I'm uncomfortable, where the people around me are uncomfortable, thinking, oh, Michelle won't eat this food, and so now what?
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I actually have some compassion for them, because I can usually handle not missing a meal here and there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but it's so important to see where is the hard part, because there's a workaround for almost anything.
No, I'm glad you brought that up because going out with family and friends who aren't on this journey with you is going to be probably one of the most difficult things during your initial transition phase. So you do want to make sure that you are prepared. So, look at menus in advance before you go to restaurants, see if they have anything vegan friendly. If not, maybe suggest another restaurant. I love the Happy Cow app, which is, a super helpful tool. I also have that on my resources page.
Mm.
And if you're going to a friend's or family member's house for some type of gathering or potluck or something, make something plant-based and delicious that you can bring and share. And you don't even have to say this is vegan, because good food is good food, just add some good food to the table. And yeah, so I would either and then yeah, if you have to go full somewhere, that's fine too. Or if you have to wait a little bit and then eat when you get home, that's fine too. Just don't put yourself in a position where you're starving at a table with family and friends at a restaurant that you used to always order, some non-vegan delicious meal from, and be stuck watching everyone else eat your favorite meal, and you can't eat it. Like, just don't put yourself in those situations. Just be prepared. And all of the tools and resources that I have on Veginner Cooking will help you be prepared so that you're not in those annoying or frustrating situations like you just mentioned.
I remember one client I worked with. She said, "Well, okay, on certain days, I go to my traditional my aunt's house, and she makes a traditional the food of their family ethnicity."
Hmm.
And I said, "Well, how about just for the first 30 days, you just don't worry about that one. Just don't worry about that. When you're there, you think about it. You think, oh, I wonder if there's anything I could bring, but don't put that on your list. Just don't fix things that are impossible for you at
Yeah.
in the beginning, right? I mean,
Hmm.
you could decide just not to eat there, or you could decide to bring your own food, but don't even make it so hard for yourself
Yeah.
if somebody else is cooking for you. Because for a lot of people, especially in my generation,
Mm.
or also I'm also first generation from on my father's side, turning your nose up at food, saying I'm not eating that, is very hard in some cultures and in some generations.
Yeah.
People are like, what do you mean? I made this for you. I bought it for you. You're so lucky that you can say no to that. So
Hmm.
for some of us, it's hard. And so don't don't make it harder for yourself than you need to. You have so many other times and choices when you are the one in charge.
Yeah.
It's great to just like learn all the things that you can learn from veginnercooking.com. There's so much there. So we can stick with what we have full agency over. And you're so enthusiastic, and you've got so much to offer on your site. I'm really excited. And I'd like to just hear a little bit about, I know that you come from a performing background. You're a musician, you're a singer, performer. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, yeah. Music is my other huge passion next to animals. Those are my two biggest passions in life, saving animals and, creating music. So I've even started actually creating a few like remixes where I changed the lyrics to offer some vegan education. I even did a song about Earth Day, which was super fun. So I'm considering dabbling more into that as I make more music in the future. But yeah, beginner cooking, it takes up a lot of my time because we have grown so much. And I've even opened up the blog to allow other community members to share recipes and post recipes and blog posts. So that's, it's been really exciting to create a safe space where we can all kind of help each other. And I feel like that has been like lacking in the vegan community, where we are just showing that compassion to each other on the our individual journeys, and just be more supportive, be more I mean, I remember when I was first starting out, and I if I made a few mistakes, some vegans might have lashed out at me, you know? And here I am, like, as this huge, huge advocate now. So it's just, you never know what someone may do to help our cause. So be compassionate along the way and choose to inspire and educate instead of, making them feel bad. I can't stress that enough. That's just a key message that I keep diving into. But yeah, but the other thing that's really great is I try to focus on recipes that are easy to make, not too many ingredients, not too challenging. And I know a lot of times when you go to recipe blogs, something that really bothered me was that I had to like scroll forever until I got to the recipe, and I'd be bombarded with all these pop-ups and all these ads that it kind of made finding recipes and following recipes a little bit annoying. So at Veginner Cooking, the recipe is just really beautifully right there for you, without any ads, without any pop-ups, without any crazy scrolling. And the recipes are easy, and the recipes are delicious. So they're not, you don't look at it and be like, oh, well, can I do this? How many kitchen tools do I need? How many spices do I need? It's not as daunting. Maybe you'll get into like chef status and you'll want to start becoming like a culinary expert and creating some recipes of your own. And if you do get there, amazing, all the more power to you. But Veginner Cooking is catered towards those vegan beginners, those people who, might not have really dabbled much in cooking. I mean, before I was vegan, I had no interest in cooking, but after I went vegan, I fell in love with cooking. And now it's been so fun, experimenting with all these different vegetables and all these different spices and seeing, well, what else can I veganize and what else can I create? And it makes cooking so much fun. And I also like to tell people that it doesn't have to be really time consuming. Um, in the kitchen too. People think, oh, well, like I can't work full time and do this and go to the gym and do that and cook home cooked meals. People are like, that's crazy. Well, it's not if you have, cool kitchen tools that help speed along the process. And if you're not doing overly complicated recipes, and if you do some meal prep, like there are solutions where so you don't need to have excuses like you say, Michelle. So yeah, but you know what? I think I went off track a little bit. I know you asked me more about my personal life, and I went straight back to
But you're a very creative. I just want everybody to know you're such a creative person, and I think they're going to see that you're a multimedia, multi-visual, you just have so many ideas coming on. You're coming at it from someone who's really used to giving her audience, I think, a real experience. I think you will feel that from veginnercooking.com, that someone,
yeah.
they're not just like, yeah, okay, here it is.
I do. I
That's
try
my
to make
site.
it fun. I try to make it fun and entertaining, because I want to have a good time doing this. I want to have a good time spreading that plant-based love, and I want to inspire positivity and compassion. And you got to do that with a smile.
Yeah, and I have to get a copy of. I have to listen to your Earth Day one. That's my husband's, and my anniversary is Earth Day.
Oh, Oh,
Yeah,
that's
April
awesome.
22nd.
What a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
special day for that.
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't on purpose, I don't think, but it turned out many years ago. So I
Mm,
always think of it. So I'll have to have a listen to that. Cheryl
mm.
Martinez from VeginnerCooking.com. What else do we need to know so we fully understand all the things that you've created for your veganers?
Um, I think we covered it all. You can find me on social media everywhere at Veginner Cooking. Again, that's spelled just like the word beginner, but with the letter V. And you can join my veganer community at veginnercooking.com, where you can RSVP to my next live cooking class. You can check out my veganer shop, grab your free cheat sheet with promo code VEG. And you can also put in a request to become a blog contributor if you've created some cool recipes of your own. And you can join any of our free challenges. You can check out our resources page. And most of all, best of all, you can check out our amazingly delicious, easy to make recipes on my blog, which is, I'd say, the cream of the crop of what we got going on here at Veginner Cooking.
Quickly, give me an idea when you, with your recipes, because I'm always interested in this. I cannot do two things the same way, but
Mm-hmm.
I know when you test recipes, it's very important that you do it in a methodical way and follow your own instructions multiple times. How do you go about that? I want to know how people do it.
I mean, I don't think it's as complicated
No,
as you're
as I'm
making it.
making
No,
it.
I think it's more kind of like once I find myself making something multiple times, I know it's a winner because I keep going back to it,
Mm.
right? So, or if I've made it for non-vegans or just family and friends and people love it, I'm like, okay, well, this is a winner. I need to, structure this in recipe format for the blog. And it just kind of comes to life. And then I'll add the nutrition facts, I'll add the servings, the cook time, the prep time. I'll add any like tips and tricks. And I also leave a lot of room for creativity. I really encourage like sustainable cooking and just using whatever's in your pantry. So I offer a lot of swaps too. So for example, if the recipe calls for maple syrup, I'll say you can use agave nectar or coconut nectar. If you don't have maple syrup, I don't say you have to run to your store to get that exact ingredient. So there's a lot of things that you can kind of use your judgment and swap with what you have in your pantry, or I offer those tips right there in the recipe for you to make it easier.
That's so valuable. That is really because a lot of people are surprisingly, people who I know who cook a lot, I think, oh, I could never learn to cook a
Mm,
vegan meal. And it's again, it's a mindset. It's feeling overwhelmed by what you're not doing rather than really inspired by what you are doing, because it really is that you're absolutely right when you spoke about how it seemed at the beginning, it seemed like what you were giving up, but you really will have so many more ingredients and choices and tastes and delights ahead of you.
yes, yes, you are absolutely right, Michelle. There are so many more vegetables and spices and fruits that I eat now that I never tried before I was vegan, just because, again, I just wasn't aware. My mind wasn't open enough. And now it's like, I want to try everything. I want to taste everything. I want to see what else can I create. And getting creative in the kitchen and mixing and matching and different things actually becomes really, really, really exciting. And you will see that if you give it some time, you will learn to love cooking, just like I did. I hated cooking before I was vegan. So the fact that I'm here saying this today is crazy. It really is.
It's a gateway. This plant based and vegan. It's a gateway to really bringing just a lot more to your life. It really is in a variety of ways. So, and I agree, like what you said at the beginning. If you could do it, you could
Hmm.
felt like you could do anything.
Hmm.
I actually think it's literally true. Maybe not literally. I think it's literally true. I
I do
think it
too.
is.
I do too.
Cheryl Martinez, thank you so much for being with us on Veg Your Best. And thank you for offering us a code for one of the cheat sheets with the word veg, VEDGE. That's super sweet. I really appreciate that. And I'm so delighted to get to know you.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Michelle. It's been an honor to know you and to get some time in your podcast. So thank you.
So, what did you think about Cheryl Martinez? I love that no one is more surprised about Cheryl's vegan journey than she is herself. I completely relate to that. If you're feeling inspired to give vegan another try, or if you're at this for the very first time, or there's someone you love who needs a little extra plant-filled support, I think Cheryl Martinez might be the perfect, encouraging, generous vegan guide for you. And you can join Cheryl's free 30-day vegan challenge right now at veginnercooking.com, where you'll also find loads of information. I mean, it's not a one-trick pony there. You'll see so many delicious recipes. You'll find live cooking classes, free cheat sheets, her Plant Pal AI kitchen companion, which is fascinating, and that will help you figure out what to eat with whatever's in your pantry. And you can follow Cheryl on all social platforms at Veginner Cooking. Remember, that's like spelling beginner with a V. And you use the promo code VEDGE, VEDGE, at her shop to grab any one of her game-changing cheat sheets. Who doesn't love a cheat sheet? And as always, remember, no matter how many times you've tried before, remember what Cheryl said. She said, "I thought going vegan would be the hardest thing I ever did. But it turned out to be the easiest." Me too, Cheryl. It's hard to explain, but me too. And there's no secret. You just veg your best. Vedge Your Best podcast production, music, and editing by Charlie Weinshank. Thanks, Charlie. Before you go, it would mean so much to me and the Vedge Your Best team if you would hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, or share with someone you think might be interested. Something about algorithms, it helps bump us up a little in the rankings, and that's the best way to help others find the podcast and for us to find our audience. So, until next week, make it easy and veg your best.